morning. I'm gonna start probably like a weekly vlog. I imagine this will go up on Friday or just like a few days in the life. I have a few things that I want to get done today. It's Sunday, but I also have the poetry live stream with Diane, which is very exciting. Today I'm going to be relaunching my Discord that I had like connected to my Patreon. I'm not going to put it behind a paywall. It's just going to be like part of the free members feature, I guess. You don't need to be part of Patreon. You don't need to have applied on the beta reader form. You can just follow the link below and join the Discord if you're interested in just kind of having like I don't know, smaller, a bit more close-knit writing community, and we can kind of like build something really positive there, I think. So I'm gonna do that. I'm also gonna do a bunch of kind of like admin stuff, and I'm gonna start a new book today. Last week I read Divine Rivals. I read it in like 48 hours, but I finished that and I was going to start a new book. So I wanted to show you the options, which I haven't decided yet. I have been feeling like reading more fantasy romance lately. This is called The Devil's Waltz. It's by Jessie Elliott, who is a lovely human. I will leave her link down below if you're interested. She's an indie author. So I might read this. I also might read, I've had this one sitting around for a long time. I've heard that it's a pirate romance, and I'm like tempted to read it obviously because of the pirate aspect, but I think I might start with Devil's Waltz as like a palate cleanser from all of the piratey things that I've been consuming lately, and then maybe I'll switch over to this just in time for Camp NaNoWriMo and like re-inspiration for all the piratey things, you know? So I'll start one of those today. I just haven't decided which one. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to update on. I updated the image for Between the Waves on my website so that it's the two placeholder covers in the Between the Waves section. As I mentioned before, I do have a newsletter there. I think there's 15 people or so that have signed up for it, so thank you so much if you have already signed up for the newsletter. I greatly appreciate it. And it honestly motivates me to get excited and like put together some really cool newsletters coming up. So yeah, thank you for signing up over there. It is currently Wednesday, June 26th, and as expected, I took a few days off like planning any writing stuff. It was also kind of a social weekend, but to be totally honest, I really needed to, obviously after doing as much writing as I did the past few weeks, I definitely needed to take a little bit of a break. There are also certain things that I need to finish today, like I really need to do laundry still, I need to clean my room. I've kind of just been like taking time to reset a little bit and get back into like my habits and rituals. Those are things that genuinely help my rest and relaxation and refilling my creative well, but they also tend to be the first things that go when I'm like stressed and working on something. So anytime I have a bunch of big word count days or I like work on a project so intensely like that, I definitely need to have at least a few days afterwards where I just settle and I like reset things. Yeah, for me that often looks like doing a little bit more in the garden, spending more time around plants. It was Midsummer's Eve and then Midsummer's Day this past weekend, and I made some burning bundles, which I just make like for when I meditate and stuff. I make them out of rosemary, lavender, and then mugwort, in case anyone's interested. Anyways, that's a little impromptu plant update. Today it's supposed to be a bit rainy, should be a little bit more chill. The plan is to like do my laundry, clean my room, just do a lot of work like resetting my space, and then I'm also going to do a bit more work planning my Camp NaNoWriMo like schedule, I guess. Not necessarily my schedule, but kind of just like how much I want to do each day and what I'm going to be counting towards my word count, which I will share with you. So that's the plan on this rainy Wednesday. coming to you from the top of a parking garage downtown. It's currently Friday when this video is supposed to be going up, so it's definitely going to be late. Last night I ended up writing another idea for book 2 of Between the Waves. I was actually inspired by a series that I'm watching on Netflix right now. It's called The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It's based on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, if you're familiar. I'm on season 2, and there was just something happened in the season and I was like, ooh, that could be a really good idea for what can happen in Between the Waves that would like explain a couple of things that I left unexplained in book 1 that I need to explain in book 2, or go back and like hint at a bit more in book 1. So last night I added that. I've also started collecting images of what each of the realms is going to look like, and I've started planning out what the map is going to look like. Maybe I'll go into detail in a later vlog and like show you the map because it's not done, but in general I think I'm actually going to make the map as like a single map of the 9 realms or of the world of Demera, because it used to all be one world, so I feel like it's okay if I do that. And then I can have like the realm borders kind of, so that you can see where the tide rips are that travel to each of the realms. And also I'm just looking for photos that kind of represent the climate and the natural resources and all of that in each of the realms. And one of my beta readers actually emailed me and asked if I had a map to provide them with, to which I had to reply no, because I really haven't done much map work for Between the Waves. I think I started to back when I first had the story idea, and then I got so overwhelmed by the fact that I had 9 different realms that I just didn't do anything with it. But yeah, so I did that, and then this morning I actually wrote down ideas for both Project Geo, which is going to be a high fantasy standalone with dragons, and I've been writing things down for Project Raven, which is kind of like I keep calling it a guilty pleasure project. It's like a dark paranormal romance project that I'm working on, that I kind of just work on for fun when I feel like it and when I'm feeling the energy to like add something to the story. Although I gotta say, the more ideas that keep popping into my head for that story, the closer I get to actually wanting to write it into something that I publish. Anyways, I've come downtown because I used to really love taking myself on artist dates, which is something that you do when you're reading The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is like a creative's workbook. And one of the things that is suggested in that book is to take yourself on artist dates where you kind of just like make your inner child and your inner creative happy and do things that you know are going to bring you joy in that capacity. And I haven't done that in a long time. All of that to say, I have this book. It's called The Road to Latin. It is basically a textbook for beginners to learn Latin. And it was published, or the copyright that I can see in here is 1932. So it's very, very old. And then I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole and I was like, I kind of want to know how old this book is, like when this edition specifically was printed, and it's not in here. I also called the library, but they can't really find something like that when the book is too old. So then the librarian, angel that they are, directed me to a rare bookstore that's downtown. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring my old little Latin book that someone definitely let get sun damaged, shame, and I'm gonna bring it to this rare antiquarian, I think is what she called it, bookstore. And this is gonna be my artist date today. I'm gonna hopefully get some information on this book just for the fun of it, just for the curiosity of it. And then I'm gonna explore the other rare books that might be there, because that just seems so cool, you know? Anyways, I have to figure out how to pay for parking here because I actually don't know how. And then we're gonna go to the rare bookstore. I've brought my Dutch bookstore bag, and I don't know, we're just gonna have a quick little artist date before heading back to do some more work. And it's gonna be great. To do a little bit of an update regarding where I'm at for Between the Waves. Camp NaNoWriMo is starting on Monday, so I'm kind of finishing up prep, but this is also why I wanted to go into detail about how I'm doing Camp NaNoWriMo this year, because it doesn't actually require that much prep To be totally honest, this week I haven't done that much work on Between the Waves. Like I kind of mentioned previously, I've had a lot of like ideas floating around for my other stories that I'm working on, which is great. I would say I'm doing a good job of not getting sucked into those. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of instead just like taking those ideas that I get, putting them into the master documents for each of those stories, which I do keep for any story idea I have, so that when I do get to the story, I have this entire document full of all the ideas I've had for it so far. And when I say that I'm kind of like letting an idea simmer, that's what I'm talking about. Like it's on the back burner, but I'm still adding things to it as I go. But as far as Between the Waves goes, I have gone through, done a little bit of filling out the world building document. I found my old world Bible for Between the Waves, and I can pull over kind of like tidbits of information that I had about those realms that isn't necessarily going to change, but like I should look up when that document was actually created and when I filled it out. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. The story's just changed so many times that there are certain things that I can't transfer over because it just doesn't make sense to anymore. But I've used that document to kind of inspire this document. As far as the like physical world building goes, I wanted to dive in a little bit and explain what I've done just in case it helps anyone. I've used Incarnate before, looks like this. I've used it a few times. It is okay. There's not as many features as I would like on the free version. I also feel like for me, I own a tablet. It's nothing too fancy, but I have like drawing apps on it. And for me, I actually prefer to start off by hand drawing the map. And I think I need to get an idea for like the layout of the world before I actually dive in and do little details here and there. I've also done something kind of interesting for the world of Demera, the world of the 9 realms. I've decided that for the sake of me not having to come up with everything by myself, I have basically used our world map as inspiration. Most of the realms I had an idea of like what the climate was like, who they bordered with, kind of like what the layout looked like. Some of them share characteristics with each other as far as like the geography goes. So for example, the 9th realm is actually, or was, quite close to the 2nd realm before the world was split up into the realms, when it was all still one single realm. So because of that, if you go north in the 9th realm and if you go kind of like northwest, the landscape changes so that it's more similar to the 2nd realm. So even though they're different realms now, it still has those characteristics. Does that make sense? Is anything that I'm saying making sense? Again, could I have made this simpler? Probably, but it's too late and we're committing to it. So I also want to make it clear that I have related each of the realms to different regions in our own world, including like specific countries, or rather specific regions like within certain countries. And I've kind of just done that so that I have somewhere to start. Like I want to make it clear that these different places are not supposed to exactly represent real places in our world, because they absolutely never will. Like they're going to be wildly different. And this is high fantasy. It is not the real world. But for the sake of like science and geography and understanding like land masses and rivers and mountain ranges and how everything should be laid out, I've mimicked the real world so that I can kind of follow those geographical patterns without having to like come up with them on my own. So I will show you how I've updated my world building document, and I've put an image beside each realm. You're gonna recognize some of these images because some of them are like well-known cities in certain parts of the world, or like well-known areas in certain parts of the world. But again, it's kind of just to give me like a jumping off point, and the realms themselves are absolutely not going to be the same as these like different regions, but rather like heavily inspired by those regions and then expanding beyond that to be just like whatever I make up. So this is the updated document and images of what each of the realms are supposed to represent. Then I went and did something a little funky. And I basically got a world map. So I took a map of the world onto my tablet, and I basically just like circled the regions that each of the realms were inspired by. So for example, if Andrian, the 4th realm, is inspired by Ireland, or like an island that would be in that area, then I've put like a blob there, and I've been like, this is where the 4th realm would be. So I did that for each of the separate realms, and then I kind of just messed around on my tablet and I condensed them just because the world is very big, and I spread the realms out quite a bit. But the idea was that if I kind of of like keep track of what region in our own world would be most similar to one of those realms, then I should be able to have a better idea of like what kind of animals are there, what kind of climate it has, what other regions it would have bordered with before it was split off into realms. And then I can have at least a visual representation that is like semi-scientific when it comes to setting up like a landmass like that. And even just looking at this map, like you can tell that the ninth realm, if there was an island, you know, to the northwest of it, like I mentioned, then it might have similar climate to the second realm because of how close it was before they were all split off from each other. And as far as the actual like separation of the realms goes, I am kind of just going to draw a borderline, like a dotted line, and say like this is where the realm ends, and beyond where the realm ends, like where the other regions and islands used to be, it's basically just water now. Like that's all they have in their realm. And then once I've added those dotted lines, I'm also going to add common tide rips, which like I mentioned are the portals that exist like in the oceans. And then I'm going to label where those tide rips lead. So some of them will be fairly obvious, because if you take the ninth realm and there's a tide rip like to the east of it in the ocean, then it probably leads to the first realm, because that is what used to be there before the first kingdom was like yanked into its own realm. I know this is kind of confusing, and believe it or not, I have a mental image of it in my head where it's basically just like the globe, but 9 different layers of the globe stacked on top of each other so that I can understand like where the realms would be. So to me it makes sense, and I'm trying to just make it as clear as possible while still keeping the idea of the portals in there. But it also makes me think that I should look into how other people have done fantasy maps, if they've written a portal fantasy, like how they've set it up, because I'm kind of curious, and I don't know if I've ever seen a portal fantasy map. Like how do you represent the portals? How do you represent different realms, you know? So yeah, now that I have my blobs and I have them labeled for which one is which realm / which kingdom, I need to make the actual landmass so they're not going to be a blob, you know, they're going to be actual landmass. They're going to have coasts, they're going to have mountain ranges and rivers and forests and deserts and just like various different geography, I guess. I just haven't done that yet, and I needed to get first this kind of general layout of the world of Demera. And I think that's all I had to update you about. Sorry about the 20 minutes of talking about my world building and my maps. When I have an actual map like completed, I'll show you, and then hopefully it will make sense what I'm talking about, or like the way that I'm laying things out. But yeah, let me know about your own Camp NaNoWriMo project if you're going to be working on something. I would love to hear about it. I'm gonna get this video edited and uploaded because it's like almost 12 hours late at this point. But thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.